Sorry about that there. Man, I'm always just a bit of a sucker for showing off my husband any opportunity that I get on the old desktop background there. Hey, hi! Hi everyone, it's great to be back here at Kōrero Café, and I see we've got plenty of attendees today, so thank you very much for coming along. It is a pleasure to be here hosting you again today. Let us start with a karakia. I'm learning a new one, so forgive me. I'm going to read this one, but I'm getting there. And the important thing is that I actually understand the sentence structures, which is important to me. So let me start with a karakia for us all. Iti atua. Ho mai kia mātou tō māramatanga, tō rangimarie, tō kaha me tō aroha mō tēnei rā. Āmine. Look at that. That wasn't so hard, was it? But good on us for trying new things. And I hope you appreciated the music today because it is Samoa Language Week. So here we are getting in theme. So kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai ki Kōrero Café, number fitu. We are ranking up the numbers here. It's been a really, really good time. Kei Arataiohi Takumahi, I work for Arataiohi, ko Zara tōku ingoa, my name is Zara, and ka manakio kia koutou. I'll be your host today. And because it's Samoa Language Week, I'm doing my best. So, talofa lava, hello. Awhio mai, welcome. And my personal favourite, iti tawhia sifa. Would you like to dance with me? I don't know if I said that right or not, but welcome to Kōrero Café. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us here. And you'll notice I'm no longer in my lounge. So welcome to the Youth Line offices here in Grey Lynn. I've picked the prettiest corner of my office to talk to you today. And yeah, so wherever you are today, congratulations, you've made it to Kōrero Café. Grab yourself a cup of something. Today I've got a drink that I made in the kitchen here. Oh, and I picked the most islander looking mug that I could find. This is terrible, so I might accidentally drink from it throughout this, but it's very bad. It's like coffee that's been sitting out, I think, for the whole of lockdown, and it's not a good time. So I hope you're drinking something better than this. Who is Arataiohi? We are the peak body for youth development in Aotearoa, so we're here to support youth work around the motu, and it's a very good time. We're a very fun team. My particular role here is I'm the manager of Korowai Tupu. Korowai Tupu is the professional association for youth workers. What is that? How can I join? You can email me, that's how you can join. It's a community of youth workers passionate about the profession of youth work and making it more legit. Today we're going through this wonderful thing called Kaipara Huarahi. This is a journal for youth workers. It's written by youth workers, it's for youth workers, and it's a really good time. So get your hands on one of these if you haven't already. You can order this from the Arataiohi website. Also, you can download the articles individually as we go through them for Kōrero Café. So hopefully you have seen the Hononga article, which we're going through today. And the poll there, I'm just going to check the results. Let's have a look at this. Looks like a few less people have read it than have. And I will say to you, it's fine for you to be here if you haven't read it. I won't kick you out. I'll allow it. However, you should know that this article is it's very poetic. It's a very easy read, and it's fantastic. So I do really recommend that you read this article. There we go. There are the results there for you. And let's just say, there we go. There's the results, and we'll say see you later. Goodbye, poll. Gone. Nice. So Kaipara Huarahi, it's going through all of the new principles of Manatauhi. What is Manatauhi, you ask? Well, let me show you. This is Manatauhi. It's the new youth development strategy in Aotearoa, and if you would like to get your hot little hands on one of these, you can get one from Arataiohi. So you can walk on down to the Wellington office if you're in Wellington. You can come and visit me in Auckland, or if you're anywhere else in the country, then you are welcome to ask us. We'll send you one. Sure, I'm going to commit us to that. There we go, that's Manatauhi. A little bit of housekeeping before we kick off today. We recommend you use gallery view. Also, there's a chat function which I see is going off. Thanks for that. That's a good time. So you can give us a hi or a cheers or whatever. Hey Zara, have you ever thought about bringing your pets into your office? The answer is yes, often. Have I? not in this office. Also, please send through your questions. You'll see that down the bottom next to where it says the chat, you can click on a Q&A. And the Q&A is where we would like you to ask your questions for Fati today. And we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we possibly can. And often we get through all of them, so that would be cool. Also, if you want, you can put your hand up. There's a little put your hand up option. So if you'd like to ask your question verbally, we can turn on your mic and you can ask us your question verbally. So that would be fun to try out. Also, to let you know that today is being recorded. So if you love today, you can send it to whoever you want later on. Look at my famous friend Fati, or come look at Zara's office. Doesn't it look fancy? It's really not, but this corner looks particularly good. Anyway, so today we are unpacking Fati's article on page 19 of Kaipara Huarahi. It looks like this. It's got pictures all through it, and it's all about Hononga. Now, Fati is a long-time youth work legend who's been doing youth work since he was a youth. He's a long-time friend of Aratauhi as well. He's a much admired father. He works for the Ministry of Social Development team. And Fati, I invite you to come on in and say hello, turn your microphone on, turn your video on, and hit us with a quick intro. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yep. Mo lava na sili inga mal fafte lu male tua wa olona lofa mana na ngalele aso. O mo se felo inga tatu te potspotso ne tai au. Ia fatalo fatu atu e Zara fa pe foi le pole wa ja James into fa pe foi matanga ulenga ia Aratauhi. Mr. Lovely, manual pa ia olo au feeling ni tai au. Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Fati. Just as part of Samoan Language Week, just want to say hey, glory to God first. And thank you, Zara, for hosting me today, and to your rangatira, Jane, and the team from Aratauhi. And to everybody that's here today, thank you for being here. I apologize if I speak too fast, or I rap, or I stutter, because my mind takes off faster than my mouth. Yeah.
I'd like it if you rapped for us.
It'll probably sound like stutter, like blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But yeah, hi everybody. Good to see everybody here.
Yeah, we've got a good number of attendees. That's it looks like a few people from the MSD crew have come to support. So kia ora to those of you who I know. It's nice to see your names.
To those that know me, you can put me in front of 1,000 people, I can MC, but put me in front of a camera like this, I start to get nervous. So it feels like it's a job interview.
Oh, no, we can make it a job interview.
No, I'm good.
Do you want to do a Kōrero Tupu application while you're here?
I don't need. I missed that part on my phone.
Oh dear, very good. Hey, it's epic to have you here, Fati. Thank you so much for taking out the morning. And I see that you're in your beautiful office in Wellington, and it looks like a nice day, which is cool.
Yeah, the promised land of Wellington, full of honey and milk and sunny weather. Looks pretty good.
Great, perfect. Hey, let's crack straight into some questions, and hopefully, so attendees, please send some through in the Q&A as well. But just to say, I really enjoyed reading your article, and I see that in the chat here. Where did it go? Here we go. Bridget Cassie has said, I'm halfway through it. I promise I'm keen to finish it because it's beautiful, and it really is beautiful. I think this, at the risk of upsetting literally every other author, I think this might be my favourite article yet.
Well, thank you.
And it made me want to spend time in the Hutt Valley and visit the river there, which is
That's
nice.
cool.
I will let you know though that you did throw me into a little bit of an existential crisis, and so I'm hoping that this interview can kind of solve all the world's problems and clarify the purpose of life for me particularly, is what I'm in need of now after reading your article. So Fati, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about your current mahi, what you do, how you do it, what your role is, etc.
So I work for the Ministry of Social Development. I do want to say today though that my views are my own. Today, just in case I might say something silly. But I work for the Ministry of Social Development, part of Youth Service team. So up and down the country, the ministry contracts out youth services to providers around the country, and there are two cases where the ministry delivers it internally, and that's us in Wellington and to our cousins up in Wanganui. So we look after young people that are receiving the youth payment, which is age 16 to 17, and we look after young people that are receiving the young parent payment, which is ages 16 to 19, and then we look after school leavers, which is known as NEET, which is the acronym for non-employment education and training. Yeah, been here for like almost 8 years, enjoying it. So shout out to our Wanganui crew that's on here as well. So we look after youth service, and we got a cool bunch of youth workers that love young people, have passion for it. And still here. So
Cool, great, that's fantastic. And I have had the privilege of meeting many of your team, and I truly, absolutely mean what I say when I'm like stoked to see your names in the chat. It's really cool to see you guys again. And I had the privilege of visiting the Wanganui office as well as the
cool. Yeah.
Wellington office, and so there's and the youth work that you guys do is high caliber, like is very good. So that, I mean, that's my personal.
Oh, thank you. That's good to hear.
So cool, that's cool as. So before we crack into your article, it's Samoan Language Week. So, and you are Samoan. So
Yep.
tell us, what does it mean to you being a Samoan youth worker in Aotearoa?
I think it's I was thinking about that question. I was thinking about a little bit about my past, and I think for me and for a lot of workers that work with people, there is a reason why we get into this work. And for me, when I think about my history, being a young person in Aotearoa in the early 90s, late 80s, there were things that I was a part of that I didn't really thought of until the last 10 years. And I remember growing up, as you know, my name's Fati, but a lot of people couldn't say my name. And I started to not like my name because people couldn't say my name. So they used to say Fati or Vari or Feti or Fatai is probably the worst one I heard. And it's, I used to get them all and I was like, man, that name sucks. And also, like, I remember going to one primary school. I've gone to like 4 different primary schools. And one of the primary schools I went to, the teacher pulled me to the side and asked me if I wanted an English name, just to replace my Samoan name. And I said, do you have an English name that you could use so we could use for school? And I go, maybe Frank. And they're cool, let's start using that. And I remember going, something's not right, because that's my grandfather's name.
Yeah.
So I think about those moments, and also think about there'll be times when like you're embarrassed to say like who your parents are, because we speak English, and then like people say, what's your mum and dad's name? And I start using like English names just to make it easier for people to understand like my background, because I was already having like issues with my own name. And then I also think about, fast forward, when my old man passed away in '95, and then me and my mum sitting there asking for government financial assistance at that time, and then not liking how they were talking to my mum because my mum couldn't speak English, and then they were really patronizing and just trying to speed us up and almost dogging my mum for not speaking English properly. So those things, it creates an activism for me, in terms of working with people. So where I am today, in terms of being a youth worker or being a practitioner, I want to be the person that sort of liberates mindsets and as the pioneer to be something a little bit different. So so for me, when it comes to being a youth worker, that's one thing, but being a Samoan youth worker, there's an extra element around that. I want to be, it's a Samoan Language Week this week, and I really want to say, hey guys, it's not Fadi, it's not Fatai, it's not Feti, it's Fati. Like it's just the educational part. It's, if I've grown up to learn how to pronounce English terms properly or Māori terms properly, then I'd like to be reciprocal, for it to be reciprocal, and say, hey, this is how we speak Samoan. And it's cool that we have these weeks as a country, so to celebrate Samoan Language Week. So and also being a Samoan youth worker too, I've gone into uncomfortable territories in terms of my work. I was part of the Sexual Prevention Abuse Network, was part of the first educators that went and helped them out to set up the Sex Ethics Framework. I remember going in as a Pacific man and being really uncomfortable talking widely about sex, and talking about the ethics and talking about the different types of relationships. And if you can imagine me learning that was one thing, because back in our day, we used to have our mum and dads, like when there was like a kissing scene on Shortland Street or something, they'll change the channel and it would be like the most taboo thing ever. So, so for us going into that realm, it's quite taboo, you know. And then I've learned to see this taboo, but I've had to break out of that thinking and understand that it's about liberating mindsets. It's about changing ideals. So, and you know, in the Pacific, there are some hidden issues around sexual violence, and you know, me being the person that responds to that, it does come with a bit of battle. So yeah, so me going into learning that was one thing, but then going into the communities and preaching sex and ethics was something else. And what happened as a Samoan youth worker was young people ended up opening up because they can only talk about that taboo subject if they are under the influence or something, which is sad. We should be able to openly and freely speak that subject
Yeah.
as Pacifica. Um, yeah, and hopefully the Pacifica listeners could relate to that percent as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not Pacifica. However, when so I used to work for Attitude, which is
Mm.
we're doing presentations in schools all over the country, and often we would visit schools that had a lot of Pacifica students, and it was just totally different. We used to talk about sex with attitude, was what we called our sexuality presentation, which, to be honest, was mostly about healthy relationships. And then we made some jokes about seeing sheep playing leapfrog in a field. Um, but it was tricky with those Pacifica, or you know, a lot of Pacifica students in those schools trying to talk about something. And I think especially coming from someone who's not Pacifica, I think that's really valuable. You answered that. Oh, sorry, when I say I think you talking about that as someone who's not Pacifica is valuable, not myself. I think I did a bad job. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying here. Sorry. No, I think definitely for Pacifica young people, I think that would be incredible having that experience from you. I'm wondering if so in the youth work experience that you've had, are you
mm.
working predominantly with Pacifica young people, or are you working with Māori, or are you working with other ethnicities or Pākehā, whatever?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I am Pacific and I'm a staunch Pacifica man. I grew up in the village concept where they bred and grew strong values and our traditions. But I don't passionately go seeking Pacific young people to work with. I have it's like goggles, eh? It's like when I look at approaches, I have a youth goggle, not so much a Pacifica goggle. And it might be controversial to some, but um, yeah, I work from a youth model because it's looking at it from an age population rather than looking at an ethnic population. And the reason why I go that angle is because if we go with a ethnic population, we might miss many factors. And the example I'll give you is um, I've had a young person that was adopted out, young Pacifica female, grew up Maori, and then I see her now in her late 20s, early 30s, speaking Maori to her kids. Now, if I was to go and work with her from a Pacifica lens, I'll totally miss that she doesn't even identify as Pacifica. You know, like it's yeah. So yeah. So for me, in terms of like my approach, I sort of have a youth focus or youth goggles first before I start looking at the ethnic goggles. Yeah. So in terms of the question, yeah, I like to work with all kinds of young people, but
Cool.
I do have a strong strength when I do work with Pacific people, but I usually like young people in general. Yeah.
Cool, great. I love that. So you look at a young person for being a young person first, and then whatever
Yeah.
background or ethnicity or culture
Yeah.
you've wrapped around that is
Yeah.
totally dependent on them.
Yeah. At our work, we've got a good diverse of group of young people. Um, but we do have strategic focuses on working with our young Māori and a young Pacifica, as part of our focus in the next few years. So that's going to be a new avenue we're looking at.
Cool, great, amazing. All right, cool to hear a little bit about your context. I've also, sorry to throw this one at you. So you worked at a youth one-stop shop. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Just because I think it's a huge part of who you are and what you bring to this as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences there, or what a youth one-stop shop is,
Yeah.
and your involvement with that?
Yep. Yeah. Youth One Stop Shop is just imagine a building that has everything available for young people. So you just go to one place, and then you might go there to play table tennis, and then there's table tennis, and you meet all these young people there, and then suddenly you trip up and you open this door and it opens up to a health clinic, and then you end up seeing a clinician or like a doctor or a nurse, and then the clinician might take you out and introduce you to another door, and then through that door is the social support service or some sort of service that helps out with counselling or whatever in social support, and then yes, so just imagine a house that has everything available for young people. So I worked in that space probably almost before I came to the ministry, and definitely understood young people being the centre of everything. I remember at the space we were working at is that they used to hire young people to be the core of the service. So there'd be a group of young people, they'll employ them, and then everything to do with young people, like in terms of voice, in terms of choice, in terms of how they run the place, they always ask this group of young people. They were employed, but they were part of the ethos or the philosophy of running the place. And what they did is they were the frontline people. They looked after any young person that came in. Young people only saw young people, and then they were also trained to do many assessments to figure out what could be up with them. And if they needed to see a doctor, then introduce them to the clinician, or if they needed to see a social support person, they introduced them to the social support person. So was there for like a good almost 10 years. Really enjoyed it. Definitely understood the trait to know that you can't do everything. I might be good at one thing, but there's someone else that's specialized to deliver something for the young person. I remember we started to do blue sky thinking, started to think, how do we get physios in here, or how do we get an education element in here? So Youth One Stop Shop, definitely something awesome to have as part of working with young people, as long as there's a centre.
Wow, cool. And this I'm really glad we talked about that, because your article is about Hononga, which you talk about in the article about how it closely links to the two principles of the youth development strategy, the old one of big picture and connectedness.
Yeah.
And when I think about connectedness, especially, I actually imagine a youth one-stop shop, because I think they do it better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if every organisation in the country was doing connectedness well, then the whole system would look like a one-stop
Yeah.
shop,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So on that note of the article, so your article is filled with these beautiful pictures of rocks and rivers, and I want you to know, and I want our listeners to know that I stole this painting off the wall at Youthline, which is a picture of rocks and a river. So I will put it back, maybe. But so can you just give us a quick summary of the rock and the river analogy, and maybe how that fits in with this whole idea of Hononga?
Yep. Those have hung out with me for the last many years. Every time I used to do the principles of big picture and healthy development is triggered when they're connected to the four aspects. I always use the rock analogy. So I remember in geography when I was year 13, he talked. The geography teacher talked about the rock and its erosion process, and it talks about. He referred to the Hutt River up our way, which is pretty awesome. At the beginning of the river, it is jagged. If you picture a rock, it's jagged, it's sharp, it's rough. As you go towards the middle of the river, so go down further towards the river flow in the middle somewhere, the rocks start looking smooth, and then you see bits of it are quite cracked. And then you go further down to the river mouth where the river finishes at the sea. The rocks are either really polished or the rocks turn into sand. In terms of the analogy of what I state in the article is that I think, well, I see it as how we work with young people, and I also see it with how we live as ourselves. So, for example, if we are at the beginning of the river, and then you've got a picture an upper hut where we stay, there is all these jagged rocks, and it's on these big rocks. There's these massive rocks, and then sometimes it breaks off. Fragments of the rock break off, and it rolls down into the river. And then when you pick up these rocks, it's sharp and it's quite jagged. And if you picture us being born, we're like born from our from our parents and our ancestors. We break off from that and we fall into the river. So our journey starts. And when our journey starts, it comes down the river. We start to get shaped and smoothed out by our surroundings. So we flow down the river of life, and we start being shaped by the rocks that are around us, or sometimes not. We might just end up on the side. And as we go down, we are just participants. We just sit there and just let the weather and the erosion process do its thing. By the time we get to the bottom, we turn out to be two things. We either turn up as polished rock or broken pieces. And I think as youth workers, there is different parts of the river where we could intervene or prevent or educate that flow of life. Some of our young people might continue to not care and carry on as normal, or some young people might go, actually, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to change my destination of where I'm flowing at. So yeah, unsure which part, but it depends on where young people sit. And I think, at some point, young people might think, oh, you told me now, but I don't care. But then later down the track, they might think, actually, that person that said that to me 10 years ago, I get that now. And then they make something about it. So but yes, in terms of the article, it just talks about their process. And then for me, I relate the model to me in my journey, and then realizing a few things for myself as I go down.
You even talk about that in your article. You talk about you just to summarize, you bullied somebody, and then the teacher said to you, "You're a leader," and it took a little while for that to click.
Yeah, still cringe when I think about it. So in the article, it talks about how this young person, redhead, gave me the evils. He was like staring at me, trying to give me a stare down. And then I took it as a challenge, and I was like, oh, come on then, I want to fight you. So I went up and held him by the neck and the collar and just said, that's us, a few F-bombs, and then the teacher yelled at me and just said, hey, that young person has special needs. And I remember sitting there feeling really, really stink, and it wasn't a good feeling at all, because like my empathetic side kicked in really, really fast, and then the biggest reflection I had was the people that hung up with me, or the people that looked up to me, were doing exactly the same thing. They were going up, trying to take challenges and collaring people and just trying to take fights. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I don't want to be that guy. So that was a realization for me, is like there's leadership in anything that I do. I just want to have a good legacy rather than a stink one.
Cool. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. I promise that we will answer them, but just for the sake of my own selfishness, I really want to ask this question. And I know that this isn't about me, but sometimes I feel like a better name for Kōrero Café would be like Zara learns things publicly, or Zara gets her mind blown again. But there's this one part in the article that I'm going to need some clarification on, because it really got me thinking. This is what I mean about the existential crisis. And it got me thinking, like, does everything happen for a reason, or how much control over my life do I actually have? Just those sorts of questions. Because I love the river analogy. And in the article you say, I'm an unconscious participant to life successes and failures. So that's the whole idea of being like thrown down the stream, and you don't really have a choice on what happens. But then you also say, what if the rock could make an informed decision about its destination? Which is what you're talking about now, right? Like, as youth workers, we have an opportunity to shape something, or as young people, or as a person, sometimes we can make choices which determine which way we go, or how we end up. So, how does that work? What's the meaning of life?
I usually tell a story on the set. Aroha to those that always hear me tell this story, but the story goes of a girl and her Christmas dinner every year. A young girl and their family of like her mum or her parents, and then her mum's mum and her great grandmother. So every year they have Christmas ham, and the girl to watch her mum cook Christmas ham. So what mum would do would get a Christmas ham, cut it in half, put it on 2 trays, and put the 2 trays in the oven and cook it. So the little girl asked one time, "Hey, mum, why do we cook ham that way?" And mum said, "Oh, well, it's how my mum used to do it. Go ask your grandmother." So then the little girl got asked grandmother, "Grandmother, what's the special recipe around us cutting the ham in half, putting it in 2 trays, and then putting it in the oven?" And then grandmother goes, "Oh, you have to go ask your great grandmother because she's done it too. That's how she taught me." So little girl goes to ask great grandmother while she's sitting on a rocking chair, and she asks her great grandmother, "Why is it that as a family we cut the ham in half, put on 2 trays, and then put in the oven?" The great grandmother sits there and rocks and says, "Back in my day, our ovens were smaller, so we cut it in half and cooked 1 tray at a time." So I guess around tradition or around doing things the way they've always been, we get stuck in that sometimes. So as a participant of our surroundings, it's one prime example of like just doing things because that's how it is. And I think just the realization of the context or the realization of there are new ways to cook ham or there are improved ways of cooking ham. That's our role of understanding. That's our role of like educating our young people to say, you now can make an informed choice. Do you want to stick tradition or do you want to try something different? And then so if they decide to stick to tradition, and as long as they know why, and that's cool, that's even more powerful. But if they don't know why, then that's a different element. But if they choose to do something different, then that's cool too. Like what we've done as youth workers, we would just give them a scenario that gives more context, gives them something to understand why you're going this way when there are other ways of doing it. I think that's probably the best example we give for that. And I think
that's a great example. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And you know what? We're going to need to have some follow-up coffees when I'm next in Wellington, I think.
That sounds good. All good.
Yeah. Hey, we've had a few questions and there's one in the chat as well, but so let's head to some of these questions from the Q&A. So we've got one here from Ardi. I've heard you own a gym.
What even?
Do you own a gym?
Nah, I'm an expired looking gym instructor, but yes, I used to be a gym instructor.
Awesome. Okay, great. How important is physical health and well-being in the work that you do?
So probably going back a bit in terms of my passion, my biggest passion is about growth and development. That means many things. The growth in education, the growth in developing professionally or personally, but also growth in developing yourself physically. And that's always tagged to what's important for who I'm working with. So when I was at the gym, a lot of them are there because they want to improve goals. They got goals around improving their well-being and health, and because that was their goal, of course I partnered up with them to make it their goal. And if we have young people that have a similar goal, then I'll definitely tailor a bit of my strength in group exercise to give there. So I won't say it's important in everything that I do, but I do say that if it's important for the young person, then it's important for me. That's for me. I have to be aligned to what's important to young people.
Cool. That is a great answer to that. And I do have a gym membership. And sometimes I go, but I think like the whole self-care thing as well, just looking after yourself and doing that, and cool if you can do that with young people as well. Hey.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess if you know that a young person would improve their well-being by doing something physical, then I won't go and literally tell them you need to do something physical. I'll have an activity that incorporates that. So it might be something like, hey, we have to go do an amazing race, but it requires us to do things a little faster. Yeah, cool, it's a game. They think it's an amazing race, but there's a physical element that comes with it. So, then they get their benefits from that. So,
Clever, and that is how a youth worker thinks. Hey, I'm going to play a game which also requires this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Love it. We got a question here from someone who's anonymous. How can youth services fit within a youth one-stop shop model? Whoa.
It depends what context, because if it's related to us personally, what I say at the ministry, I guess, with us at the ministry at the moment, we partner up with a local youth agency here. Shout out to BGI. We co-locate with them, so we go and use their facilities to run our workshops, run our programs, and do our one-to-one meetings and engagements. If you think about that type of model, us co-locating with a youth provider is similar to Youth One Stop Shop. They're doing what they're doing in the community, but us being there to be available for young people. Like I said before, if a young person comes and sees BGI or something and they trip up and they see us, hello, we're part of the One Stop Shop. So so from our context, as part of being a part of the ministry, and then we were to co-locate with a youth agency, that's definitely how would fit in the one-stop shop model. But I think because it's contracted out to youth services or to many youth agencies around the country, I think it's already happening in a sense.
Yeah, true. That's a good point, actually. And I wonder if there's a possibility that there is even a youth services run out of a one-stop shop around the country. I don't know off the top of my head, but because of the contracting thing works, it could well be. Hey.
Yeah, so shout out to Vibe. So Vibe in the Hutt Valley, they are a one-stop shop, and
There we go.
and they have youth service contract as part of their work too. So that already, like, young people would see Vibe, but because they trip up and see different things, they'll see youth services as part of that as well.
True. True. Cool. All right, forgive me. I am going to answer this question, and it's got a Samoan word in it.
Yeah.
I worked really hard on my te reo Māori, and I just have
Samoa.
not even ventured into this. So how do I say this? Do you integrate
Samoa.
Samoa?
Yeah,
That
Samoa.
wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go. Do you integrate Samoa into the mahi you do? If so, how do you go about doing this?
There is elements of Samoa.
What is Samoa?
Yes, Samoa is like, so literally it means like to be Samoan or to,
Huh.
it's you could label it as in like the culture, or do I integrate Samoan way of being in my work? I guess it's elements of it. I think here at the ministry we're really big on the leadership behaviour whakawhanaungatanga, and for me that's similar to Samoa protocols. Is that being a public servant, it's so easy to get task oriented, where we got to respond and do things according to what needs to be done, but we can be guilty of missing the whanaungatanga aspect, or saying hello to someone, or saying, "Oh, how's your day? How's your weekend?" And I'm really big on that. I'm really big on having creating time to really get to spend time with the team. Say, "Hey, how's your day going? How's your week going?" And I think it's the Samoan in me that does that too. It's not so much a leadership behaviour, but it's for whanaungatanga, it's a Samoan thing. Like, I like to say, "How's your day going?" So that's one element. The second element is because I'm first generation born Samoan, which means my parents were born in Samoa, they came to New Zealand, and I was born here. I grew up with two cultures. So the one culture is mainstream culture, and the second culture is tradition culture. So tradition culture is that similar to the ham story. Like, I grew up with that.
I was just thinking that. I was like, the ham.
Yeah. So the ham story, yeah. So the tradition culture is that, so everything that I do, I'm always putting myself in spaces of, am I mainstream in the setting, or am I tradition in the setting? And I've always got that at the back of my mind wherever I go. So so in a sense, Samoa is integrated, whether it's coming out strong or not, but it does guide my thinking, or guide my goggles in a sense. Yeah.
Cool. It's kind of like that whole you can take the youth worker out of a building, but you can't take I don't even know what I'm saying, but like you can't take being Samoan out of you, and so it's going to be part of everything that you do. Youth worker out of a building? I don't even know what I'm saying.
I get it. I understood it.
Cool. So we've got a question here from AJ, and it is lengthy, so I'm just going to read it out to you, and then we'll pick out the questions within that, if that's cool.
Yep.
So I have a question about the one-stop shop model and connections. do you think that having one place that provides everything really promotes connections in the community? That is a good question because essentially you're taking away the community connections by doing it all yourself, aren't you? Do you want
Uh,
to answer that question first before we
yeah.
go on?
So the model that I grew up with, the one-stop shop I was with, I remember they were in a cottage. It was just a building. It was just a building. And what happened is like different providers from around the community that say like, so say like if I'm in one area, but then the provider that provides health was from another area of a community, came into the same building and just provided their service, but as them, not as the building they're in, but they just came and provided their service because they didn't come in as a didn't come as to be the employees of this building. They came in because they believed in this is where they catch young people. So so say like if there's this building and there's like service A, service B, service C, and service E or D. I forgot the E, I forgot the D. But yeah, and then they all provided something different. So we had a health service here, we had a tikanga kawa service here, we had a counselling service and social service, and then there was just this building. There's this one building that they came to. That's like yeah, it's like uniting for one purpose, which is young people. But at the same time, they're hitting their strategic priorities of whatever it is for young people, but they're just getting it through this one hub. Um, and I think I see that as that would strengthen the connection rather than. But then I know now that youth one-stop shops, some youth one-stop shop, the earlier one-stop shop functioned that way, but the later it turned into the hub got the funding to provide that, which does could potentially decrease the connections to the community. Yeah.
Cool, great. So it's about how you do it and how you set it up. So it would be
Yeah.
different if like you came in and you were like, "Hi, we're all these services who have moved into this little community
Yeah.
from Auckland, and we're
Yeah.
building a big ass building in the middle of your township."
Mm,
That would be a dick move. But
yeah.
you do it the humble way. You just kind of move in and help form the connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the ministry, we had a model called Community Link. So working income officers have Community Link, and then different organisations or government agencies will come in and park up outside the working income office, and they would do a one-stop shop model for clients. So yeah, there's the model.
Oh,
Yeah. It strengthens not just what's available for our users, but it also strengthens meeting strategic priorities of what they're trying to achieve. So let's be
cool.
talking.
Great, love it. I'll just see if there's anything else in here. Is this more of an access thing? Like it's easier to connect them because they're all in one place. So in your opinion, Fati, is there something to be said about connecting young people to other organisations around the community so that they're not just relying on one physical place and empowering them to explore their wider community? Do you have anything to add to that? You've sort of already covered it a little bit. Do you think there's value in young people exploring their community because they have to go and search for organisations rather than having them all in one spot?
Yeah, I think we have to be the bigger people as youth workers there. I think yeah, what I said earlier is like if we can understand that we're not strong, we don't have strength in everything, and then we know that there's something that's not available in our own space, or we know that there are duplicate services similar to what we do. Um, we have to be the bigger people and say, hey, young people, hey, young person, there's also this available to you, and we sort of had to like be responsible to even chaperone them to try those places out, rather than just rely on the one building, because it can create dependency. In a good way, it creates good dependency, but the other way, it does create not so great dependency, especially when they're aging out of the youth bracket, especially for those one-stop shops that stops at a certain age. So then, yeah, um, it's there's pros and cons to both.
Great answer. I like how you've done that. Hey, we've got two similar questions here. One of them is my question, and another one here is in these challenging times with COVID-19, what's your thinking on how we best engage and support young people? My question for you also is, what does connectedness look like in COVID-19? How do people stay connected when we've been in lockdown? And then
That's it.
here's about young people.
It's an interesting time, because it's really provoked us to work differently and to think differently about how we work with young people. As youth workers, we're all relational. We're really strong at building relationships, but it's sort of provoked us to work differently. So for us, we've had to look at building an online community as part of a piece of our work. And
is that an online community with your team or an online community with young people?
With our young people. So we're trying to figure out what's best for them. So we look at all our platforms, and we've got like social media, and then we're looking at currently the Zoom, how we work with Zoom, and then if we look at those platforms, can our young people access it? Do they have internet access? Do they have data?
Yeah.
So I probably won't have a strong answer for that question, but I do know that the COVID-19 has raised discussion around how do we work with our young people during times where there are measures in place around social distancing, and and then if we do put up platforms for like social media or online stuff, then what barriers will come with that? Or so at the moment it's just following the guide provided by government. But I think for some of them,
for MSD, you can't skip around any of the government rules.
Nah, not at all.
What's your team been doing to stay connected?
Our teams are probably just trying to catch up once a week. Do have a video that probably best answers that question.
Yeah, let's play your video.
To our Wellington team, Aroha mai. So as part of like us stay connected as a team, the ministry were doing TikTok battles. Unfortunately, I didn't win, but we had the cool winner, Hayley and her daughter. Shout out to Hayley, and so we did the TikTok challenge, and that was something that kept us busy through lockdown. But then we also because we're trying to build an online community, we were trying to promote ourselves to our young people on social media. So this is one of the videos we put together, and what we tried to say was, this is what we're up to during lockdown, and this is who we are. So hopefully this video just it's like 1 minute, so hopefully it gives an idea on what we've been up to during lockdown.
Cool.
I'll just quickly try to figure out how it works. Oops. Can you see that? No, wrong one.
Yeah, we can see your Zoom.
Sorry.
That's all good. I'm looking forward to this video.
Oi! Look sharp, don't make me bring a bit and get dark. Hear the bang, see the spark. Duck down, lay down, just down. Fix up, look sharp, don't make me bring a bit and get dark. Hear the bang, see the spark. Duck down, lay down, just down. I got the big beat. I hear the sound. Yeah. I got the big beat. This is Roscoe. Down, down. Rolling deep. I stay sweet as a nut, sweet like Tropicana. When the hammer hits your head, splits like banana. You're not ready for this, no. You better send your best son, 'cause this is Captain Roscoe. More destructive and troublesome than ever. I'll probably be doing this, probably forever. Fellas wanna stop me, they'll probably come together. It's probable they'll stop me, probably never. Yo, top way, top man or top of topper. Come to me with an attitude, come a copper. I'm old school like Happy Shopper. Off-white old school, bring your back and your chopper. And the first day hit, and some anti said this could get hectic. I'm a done accepted, you got a bright future, don't let my heart affect it. Fix up, look sharp, don't make me bring a bit and get dark. Hear the bang, see the spark. Duck down, lay down, just down. Fix up, look sharp, don't make me bring a
awesome. That was a good time. I love it. I love the creativity, and I think getting amongst TikTok has been one of my highlights, probably from the whole of COVID-19. That's cool. That's cool, and what a fun way to stay connected. Hey, Fati, thank you so much for sharing the video. We do have some questions that we haven't answered, but we are out of time, and so I'm wondering if you reckon you could answer these 2 questions like quick fire. What do you reckon?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this question here, and I've just realized that it's Adi Salvia, which is funny. If you were the Samoan Prime Minister for the day, what inspiring words would you send to all Samoans in Aotearoa across the Pacific, including during the Samoan Language Week?
I'm in Marco. Is that you, bro? Yeah, what would I say? Love, yeah, I guess from my experience, love your name, love your culture, love your language. Yeah, even if you do get teased or dissed for it, like just find someone that would encourage you to love being Samoan. Yeah, I'll probably say it in Samoan, not in English.
Beautiful. That's cool. I love that you said that because my guess that your answer was going to be it's Fati, not Fati.
Yeah. Or Fatai or Fati, yep.
Love it. Cool. Love your culture, love your name. And this question from Briley. Hey, Briley. How do you think we can attract more people to youth work?
It's funny because I think a lot of people like the idea of youth work. Every time we put out like vacancies or advertisements for youth work jobs, a lot of people want to put their names up because it sounds amazing. I guess the thing is, it's like the cliche answer we get in the youth work interviews is like, I like to help people. And I think to anyone that's interested in youth work, don't just see it as a good idea to help young people. Like, come into youth work because there's a difference, or there's something that's happened to you, or there's something you've seen or observed in our young people, where you just wanted to be the pioneer, or want to be the person that just does something a little bit different, or does something that that liberates their mindsets or creates equality, you know, all the social justice stuff, you know. So getting more people into youth work is understanding their purpose and their role for young people. And the second thing is, if you're going to come to youth work, please be ready for more disappointments than rewards. Like, I can't tell that enough to anybody. Like, people think it's cool, we get all these cool things, but don't come in thinking you're going to save the world and think, I'm going to save 100 people. Just be happy with one. Because I guarantee you there's going to be 99 fails. Or 90 not fails, but 99 times where you're going to be disappointed, disheartened that young people didn't do something cool. But the one just makes it awesome. And if you can get that, yeah, definitely youth work. Yeah.
Oh, you reminded me of that age-old starfish story of like, you know, do you know the story where there's like all these starfish are washed up on the beach?
Yeah.
And there's like thousands of them, and there's this kid walking along and he picks up a starfish, he throws it back in, walks along, picks up a starfish, throws it back in, and someone says, why are you doing that? There's no point, you're never going to save all of these starfish.
Yeah.
And then he picks it up and he's like, yeah, but it makes a difference to the starfish. And
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's cool. That is epic. Any final words from you, Fati, before we wrap up for today?
Thanks for the opportunity to catch up and talanoa this process. To everyone that listening right now, or that might be listening to this message later on, I hope any messaging might bless you, or any messaging might help out with your practice, or any messaging might bring some new thinking with how we work with young people. But other than that, thanks everybody for listening in.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much, Fati. It's been epic doing this, and I'm serious about the getting coffee next time I'm in Wellington. That'll be a good time. Thank you so much. Ngā mihi nui kia koe. Thank you for being our guest panelist for today, talking about Hononga. Thank you to our attendees too. Really appreciate your commitment to this kaupapa. And letting you know that we will be having kōrero again next week with we're gonna pre-record, but we'll be playing it for you at the regular time of 10:30 on a Thursday morning, and it'll be with Nikki and Annabelle talking about whakapapa, which is going to be a good time. So keep your Thursday morning tea break free yet again as we keep journeying through the Manatauhi principles and interviewing authors from Kaipara Huarahi. So that is enough from me. Oh no, I want to try out some more Samoan. So Manuia le aso, did I say that right?
Yeah, awesome.
Yay! Have a great day. I also found this one, which I like. Vili le leo leo. Call the police.
Call the police.
But yeah, that's enough of me trying out Samoan words. I will finish with the karakia quickly, and then we'll say see you later. So thanks, team. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa. Te atawhai o tō tātou ariki. A ihu karaite, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhi ngātahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake, ake, ake. Amen.
Amen.
Cool. Thank you very much, team.